Oh yeah, this is well, yeah, we will definitely get to address that, Joy. This is moonshine from just down the road from us. So this is Connecticut Yankee moonshine. It's from a place called Hickory Ledges in Canton, Connecticut.
Don't light a match.
The jar, I thought it was barbecue sauce.
Sure it is. You could put it on your ribs, I suppose.
Yeah, probably.
Well, it's cranberry, so it's actually kind of nice on a dry rub. But anyway.
Is this a cooking podcast?
No.
That was the last thing in
I
here.
was in the wrong room.
Although, I love that. Ask, talk to. Was she here this weekend? I'm trying to remember. It wasn't Katie. It was that did the Hoogian cookbook. She's with Oni Hartstein and the Regen Who crowd.
I'm the wrong person to ask.
It'll come to me later. It's not
Haley
critical.
moves to somewhere so she could order out.
Gallifrey
Cooking is
Grubhub.
microwaving leftovers.
Sounds good to me.
Spoken like an engineer. Kids, this is Gallifrey Public Radio. This is episode I don't know. I lost count. 208, 2.
Roundabouts there.
We'll call it.
Yeah,
sure.
Google
Yeah,
it.
do that. We've got somebody who's got probably one of
Somebody
those
fact
internet
check this
accesses
for us.
things. And we are at Long Island. Please attend carefully. Thanks to Ken Deep and crew for having us here once again. My name is Kier, one of the hosts of GPR. With me is
Haley Malley.
also one of the hosts of GPR. Jay Whitten is fired.
Yeah, this
Well-
would have been his seat if we hadn't fired him.
This would have been, but we don't like Texas. So no, he's actually, Jay wasn't able to join us this weekend. So we're going to make sure that we interject all of his horrible statements afterwards and clean it all up in post, as we normally do. We had a very specific agenda. What's that?
208, somebody fact check.
208. Excellent. That's a good round number. I'll take that. Yeah. So we are 5 years into this mess with Gallifrey Public Radio. Just celebrating. I think it was almost right on the button that we celebrated our 200th episode with our 5-year anniversary, and no one has told us to stop talking yet. So we're doing all right.
Yeah.
Doing all right. And because this is a convention-based recording that we're placing tonight, we wanted to make sure that we actually had a topic. Billy, the program director, said you can't just tell people you're just going to record a cast and not say why.
Yeah, he said we're going to drink and maybe talk about Doctor Who was not acceptable. So.
It didn't work last year, and it's not.
Yes, it did. We were loaded. It was a blast.
And when doesn't that really work?
I had a Queen's Imperial poop ton of fun, so that's
Where's your
yeah.
cardistry thing or your moonshine?
Oh yeah, well, the moonshine is here. Yes, we do have our my Connecticut Yankee-based moonshine. We are not making sonic screwdrivers tonight because the bar is now making them. The hotel bar has now finally started crafting a sonic screwdriver, probably modeled after what we set up last year. I don't remember how the night ended up, so I'm pretty sure they were effective. But we will get back to our subject. We actually have an agenda tonight. We are going to be discussing something that we have been seeing more and more frequently, just within about the past two and a half seasons in particular, in increasing frequency, and that is the carryover of classic Who elements into the modern series. Now, we've obviously enjoyed the fact that when we hit the ground running with Rose, we had our autons. We had to make sure that we explained the program to new viewers, but at the same time, we were tipping the hat and carrying over all of our viewers who waited patiently through the wilderness years, and we had to give very little update. The autons really didn't need much of a facelift. Really can you? That's it. Yeah, the puns are going to come hard and fast. But we've had other experiences since in bringing not only villains but recurring characters, plot elements, elements of backstory, technology, and bringing them with a slight amount of facelift potentially, or maybe just a little bit of a modernization so that modern viewers can.
Probably the way they wanted them to look when they made them back in the 60s and 70s, and now we can do that.
Precisely. No, whether it be a matter of just saying, CGI is going to allow us to be able to really, blow the lid off of this, or maybe it's a matter of, we feel we didn't really give this species a fair shake, or it's something that would adapt really well to modern parlance because it's something that might be topically relevant. The Zygons have proven to be something that, within recent discussions, we were actually just discussing this in our panel a little earlier about the power of the spoken word, that has to do with a topical relevance because of the discussions of the futility of warfare. So with very little adjustment, they can be handed over to a modern audience and have great success. So we figured, how far can you stretch this? Where can you find other opportunities? I love this topic in particular because it puts Haley at a huge disadvantage because we are currently dragging her through Classic Who in chronological order with everything.
No, we're not doing it in chronological order. It's bugging any kids in here? Bugging the shit out of me.
All right, edit point. I gotta clean all
Earmuffs,
this up.
baby.
Soon there will be a child in the room.
That's
he's
precisely
in utero
moving and
right now.
training.
Maybe earmuffs.
But this became one of those things where we're like, all right. So Haley gets a chance to observe these things, and she's got a great eye for being able to put the filter on and say, all right, I know precisely when it's aired. I know some of the the limitations that were faced within studio production, and just the nature of the pacing and things about the way the episodes were put together. But then we thought, all right, well, how can we push this into 2016 and beyond? What is Chris Chibnall going to tap into? In the spirit of Moffat, who loves to show you how clever he is.
Well, Moffat's got one season left to do this too.
Precisely, and he plans on going out strong. He said it wasn't going to be necessarily a heartbreaker swan song. He's not going to kill off many characters, like he's capable of killing anybody for real. But the whole idea of he loves to show you the fact that he is as much of a fan, if not infinitely more so, than we the viewers are. So if he likes to tap into these classic elements, even if it's just a quick nod or a quick name check, it's something that he wants to see who's paying attention. Is Chibnall going to carry on that kind of a legacy? So we'll dive into all that. One of the obvious, easy starting points is characters. So we knew obviously when we saw the Master carry forward that had to appear at some point, and Sim did a phenomenal job, and Gomez is absolutely crushing it right now, and you really can't take anything away from her in the strip with that. We've had some other returning. I'm not going to get into villains yet. I'm considering villains a separate category, and I don't consider the Master a villain. That's another discussion for an entirely other time. But in fact, I plan on devoting an entire episode to this. I'll warn you now.
Okay.
About the villain not as an antagonist. I'll work on that. Anyway.
Okay.
I'll put that up for later.
Are you feeding that one?
Oh yeah. I'm making ribbons now. The vote missing. Anyway. But other characters that we feel that very easily could fall into a modern audience and be able to accept that persona or that representation, the archetype that character provides us. So I'm going to throw one out just as a starting point, and then we're going to go around if there's suggestions and contributions on this as well. And I'm throwing this out because I don't have any opinion on this one way or the other, but I know that viewers do, and that's the Ronnie. And I figured I'd start there because obviously everything we've seen is success of Gomez and the Missy Master interpretation. So you're going to have to put your classroom voice on because I'm not walking around with a wireless mic this time around, so you're just going to have to project. And if you got to stand to do that, fantastic. If you got to stand up on a chair, please have somebody bracing you from behind because I'm not responsible for your injury. But what about the Ronnie? Would the Ronnie actually work with a modern audience knowing that we've got Missy as that female foil? Joy.
I think that the Ronnie and the Master, regardless of gender, are pretty much polar opposites. The Master is outrightly evil. She is psychotic, at least by human standards. She's beyond control. The Ronnie isn't evil, really. She's amoral. I can imagine situations where she and the Doctor could become allies. She's this very cold, amoral scientist, very controlled. Now, that could obviously change with the regeneration in terms of the actual personality. The thing is, if you listen to Big Finish, they have a new Ronnie, played by, I think her name is Siobhan Redmond. The problem here is she's Scottish, so she sounds almost exactly like Michelle Gomez, but
Very
honestly, if
true.
they were to bring back the Ronnie on television, they'd probably go with somebody else. I'm voting for Shorai Agashalo. Not likely, but I was also thinking of Suat Faris, who actually, this is sort of a joke, she played the older version of Ronnie on the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
But I want
nice.
some- I want
Wow.
somebody, I want somebody Indian because that's where the name comes from.
That's true. That is true.
Royalty, doesn't it? An Indian?
Yes.
It's Queen
Yep.
in Hindi.
Yeah. So, but in terms of that representation, and I like the fact that you're bringing that up, that she's almost, when you think about the fact that she goes after things very clinically, scientifically, and it's always, and that agenda is really, is completely outside of a moral compass. It is really scientific pursuit in nature. Now it just happens to stray outside of what we would consider to be morally acceptable. It's almost like the thin line on stem cell research and cloning and things of that sort. Where do you draw those kinds of moral lines? And you may have scientists that sit on either side of that and say, well, it's for the betterment, it'll serve the greater good later. But, sorry, it's a Simon Pegg thing, it's always running in the back of my mind. But yeah, and I think a modern audience might be able to latch onto that rather quickly if it's cast distinctly differently than the kind of, help me on character alignment. Where do we say that Missy fell into this as far as her, is she chaotic evil?
Yes.
She's,
I
she's,
think the other masters are probably neutral evil.
okay, but she's gone chaotic, yeah, and if anyone has ever
So
seen
More
her,
unpredictable.
precisely, yeah. And anyone else on kind of the Ronnie front before we jump around? Yes, sir.
I actually think that you make a good point with bringing the Ronnie back with Gomez and Capaldi, and if you cast it right, you do have that possibility of them, playing off each other in a sort of lovers triangle thing. You've got Gomez, who clearly there's that love-hate flirtation relationship with this incarnation of the Master
Okay.
with the Doctor. You bring the Ronnie in, and then you've got that undertone there between the two females vying for the attention of the Capaldi Doctor.
I get that within the lens of a modern audience that wants to put shipping on all of these things. I don't think necessarily the Ronnie demands it by
She
archetype.
doesn't. But knowing the BBC, as everyone here does, it's the best way to sell it
Absolutely.
to the BBC.
And I think it's probably one of our subtitles that we maintain on the cast all the time. At the end of the day, this show is a business.
Yes.
So yeah, by all means. Yes, ma'am.
Why are people bringing up Ronnie? I mean, is it because she played with them when they were kids? Is that the reasoning behind it? Because she was their childhood friend?
Why the character
Yeah.
is still
I mean,
discussed?
Yeah, why is she being brought up? I mean, the history is that she was the Master's and the Doctor's childhood
Mhm.
friend. She was also brought in as the Sixth Doctor, as well, but why is she being brought up again? Is it because of the whole Missy thing being brought back in? Why is she being brought up as
To a certain
possible-
degree, the demand for a Ronnie reintroduction predates the whole Missy reveal because of the inherent demand for stronger feminine characters, and one of Moffat's most recognizable weak points.
Oh, it is strong female characters, I understand that.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes sense that he would introduce that actually, because Missy is now female. They play together as children.
Mhm.
There was a competition as children. She was very instrumental as the Sixth Doctor. Moffat is very much involved in bringing traditional classic Who into the forefront of the new Who.
Mhm.
It would make sense that he might actually do something in that vein and kind of introduce that. But again, remember, Missy is talking about a child throughout this whole thing too, so who knows what's going on with that either. So
Sure.
she's talked about a child
Yeah.
several times throughout this last season.
Mhm.
So we have to find out what the heck's going on with that too. So
Certainly,
where is
certainly.
that going? What's going on with that, and whose child is it involved in, you know, is that hers and the doctor's child, or is that somebody else's and somebody
Okay.
else's child? But that's another whole kettle of fish.
Gotcha, absolutely, yeah.
Well, if anyone were to bring the Ronnie back, I doubt it would be Moffat anyway. He's already very famously stated that who's the Ronnie? No one will remember the Ronnie. Older fans remember the Ronnie. I like the Ronnie, but I don't think barring her two stories, I don't think there's a lot of a character that would, I mean, she would have to be almost completely reinvented and fleshed out into
Right.
something that would not be what we would recognize as the Ronnie.
Mm.
She would be the new Ronnie, which we might as well make a new character at that point.
Sure.
And if it's a
Yeah.
strong female Time Lord character who's a villain, not villain, however you want to put it,
Mhm.
a chaotic element in the mix.
Right.
There's definitely going to be the comparison of Missy and why is she there? Why can't we have Missy? And it's a very conflicting choice to put
It
in
is
there.
definitely difficult because of the fact we've ticked off a lot of those boxes with what we've presented with Missy. So it doesn't leave a lot of opportunity with Ronnie as we know her to be able to put something forward that the audience can say, wow, all right, heading somewhere new now, because it's not necessarily new. Are we we're gonna have a traveling mic? Fantastic. Yeah, good. Give me a chance to get out of my seat. Awesome.
Do you want it?
Yeah, I'm gonna walk around with this thing. This is what I do. If I sit down, I get tired because I have positional narcolepsy. It's not a
Oh,
real
were you
thing.
not kidding? Oh,
No, well, yeah.
but
it's
that late
okay.
in the day, I believe anything.
No, I've self-diagnosed. If I sit down for too long, I get tired. But if I stand up, I never stop. So, I have one other in my head, but I want to start kind of drifting in other. Are we just got some other points on the running front?
What
Go
about
right ahead.
Ronnie, then I've got a new one for you.
Sure, certainly. Yeah, I'll go ahead.
So you mentioned, ticking off the boxes, which, like we talked about earlier, is a good foil to use for bringing the Ronnie back, because then you've got that whole competitional, hey, we don't need her, I'm Missy, I'm around, makes for a good foil to use to bring her in. And then the other one I was thinking of, I don't know if you want to jump to the next one, would be the Valeyard.
Go right ahead.
I was gonna say, the next one that I would recommend would be the Valeyard.
Okay, I have in my short list. Thank you so much. The Valeyard is a great segue. You gonna hold on to that for me? Oh, great. Good. Yeah, it does. All right. So, and we got a chance actually to discuss this in an earlier panel. We brought up Trial of the Time Lord. One of my personal favorites. It's one of the things that endeared me to Colin Baker in the first place. Because it's giving us an opportunity to be able to see the real core of what makes Time Lord society corrupt as a bureaucracy and as a governmental structure and the flaws inherent within that system. The Valeyard, though, has this manifestation of self-serving, power-grabbing, really kind of wormy persona that didn't have enough opportunity, in my opinion, to be explored in subsequent stories. Does that mean that that's something that a modern audience who don't necessarily have the patience level for a build-up to this kind of character, completely unfamiliar with the value, completely unfamiliar with the legalities within Gallifreyan governmental order, because we're just starting to get that back now. In fact, we only have hints of it at this point because of the time clock and whatnot. Is the Valeyard someone that would require too much audience prep to really have the gravity that the character could have? I mean, he could be a hell of a lot of fun on screen, but do you have the time really to invest in bringing everybody up to speed for him? I mean, we got a chance to tour Trial of Time Lord. Is this one that we've slammed you through yet? Oh my God, are you in for a ride?
I could not watch 14 episodes right before we do a podcast.
It's a great story.
Absolutely. Eric in the back, just yell from back there so we don't have to run the mic.
Basically, I think, like you mentioned in an earlier panel, that we're used to that flashback, 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 and then you have the monologue, and we listen to it. I think a build-up, we would have to, we condition our audience to actually appreciate a build-up.
Okay. On the value tip? Yes, sir. He can use
I was just gonna say that if there was a time to bring back the Valeyard, I mean, it's very clear in the Trial of the Time Lord, is between the 12 and final incarnations. We've already gone way past that. So I feel like the time has passed. Like, if they wanted to do it, they could have done it, you know, somewhere around the Matt Smith era, you know, but they didn't really establish until his last story for Matt Smith that it really was the final incarnation that he could have had.
Okay.
So that would have been a good time to do it. If you strictly want to go with how it was 30 years ago, which, you know, we know those things are
Writing
fluid.
yourself into a corner,
Right,
as you do,
right,
sure.
Right, those things are fluid, but I feel like you kind of passed that point.
The Valeyard is actually my favorite classic series villain, but I'm not necessarily sure I want to see him again because they've done a lot with him on Big Finish.
Yes.
And with that, I think he's had pretty much all the development that he can have. The other thing is I've always thought of the Valeyard as an anomaly. He is, for example, what would have happened to the Doctor's final incarnation if he hadn't met Rose or Martha or somebody who could have pushed down some of his worst aspects. I'm thinking maybe he's a Doctor who's trying to stop the Time War.
Okay.
So, the Valeyard is not the only manifestation of the Doctor's dark side. Remember the Green Lord. I mean, seeing other manifestations of the Doctor's dark side would be a good idea, but we don't necessarily need the Valeyard. The Valeyard is his self-hatred. There are other aspects we could use with other actors. Maybe bring back the Green Lord again.
Okay. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, I want to make sure we run this one through because the value is so near and dear to me. I'll talk about this guy all night.
Well, I would argue that a lot of the prep for the Valeyard has already been done in the new series.
Okay.
You kind of get a glimmer of the Valeyard during school reunion.